Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back. Droid Life Show today, episode 166. It's Friday, March 2nd. I'm your host, Kellen. With me, Tim. Tim Scott.
Hello, everybody. Tim here.
So, on the show today, we got some new stuff coming up. We're also just going to recap MWC. So, Mobile World Congress is obviously in Barcelona this week. We got the Galaxy S9, Sony's new phones, notches. LG had a new phone. There's some other stuff going on. We have Google Clips in house now. There's quite a bit of stuff going on actually. But I wanted to point out that we're going to try something new this episode, and it kind of only benefits live listeners. So those of you probably in the chat on YouTube right now will benefit from this. But we've been talking for a long time about doing some sort of trivia with Droid Life in sort of a live capacity. And what we're going to do for the show anyway, again, for those listening live, is at the end of most shows, we're going to try to do it, I think, most shows going forward, depending on how this goes, is we're just going to have trivia, like last couple of minutes, throw some questions out. If you're listening live and you're in the chat, it's going to be like a first to answer the question sort of thing. You could win a prize. So, we'll see how it goes, but we're going to kind of play with it for a while to give live listeners that extra little bit of bonus. So if you're listening on the audio version,
they can play along.
Yeah, you can like play along at home and like write it down, or challenge your partner or something as you listen out loud. I don't know, but either way, you may want to consider tuning in live every once in a while if you want to win some stuff. So so that'll be at the end of the show, by the way. That'll be at the end. And we'll give you a heads up if you need to refresh your stream or whatever to make sure you are as live as you can get, that sort of thing. We'll see how it goes. So we'll come back to that, but we want to talk MWC recap. Obviously, Mobile World Congress is one of the big tech events of each year, and it's in Barcelona, Spain. We just never go. Maybe one day we will. I don't know. It's just never been a thing that we go to. But this year was a decent year. I actually don't know if this year was a decent year. It was light, actually. Outside of Galaxy S9, which we're going to talk about, and Sony doing a couple things, like that was it, really, in terms of like big announcements. Like Google was there announcing like Android Go and some Android One stuff. But some of the other big players like Huawei, they announced like some tablets. LG announced a new V30. So it felt like a light year, but I think that's partly just because they knew Samsung was coming. So let's talk about Samsung, shall we? Galaxy S9, Galaxy S9 Plus are official. In fact, you can pre-order them right now. So Samsung, like Apple, they've gotten pretty good at launching phones. When they announce them, they open pre-orders pretty quickly. Phones are then available in stores or arrive on your doorstep, assuming you pre-order within 2 weeks. So pre-orders opened last night at midnight. So today, March 2nd, you can pre-order the Galaxy S9 or S9 Plus from everywhere, all the carriers, all the retailers. And they will be available in stores then on March 16th. But like we pre-ordered ours through Samsung store, and they said like get your orders in before the 8th to get them by March 14th. So they're going to send pre-orders a little bit early. In the past, we've seen pre-orders like 2 weeks early sometimes, or a week and a half early. So if you want your phone now, I would get that pre-order, and there's always a chance you might get it like next week or something. So, all right. So like to recap, right? Like these phones have leaked so much, like nothing was really a surprise at all. In terms of specs, like what do we get? A bump in camera. So we've got S9 has a variable aperture f1.5 to f2.4 camera, and the S9 Plus has that same variable aperture camera, but also has a secondary lens. It is a zoom lens too, right? Do we actually confirm that finally after all this time?
Pretty sure.
Yeah, it is a telephoto lens. They have Snapdragon 845s in the US. S9 has 4 gig RAM. S9 Plus has 6 gig RAM. So there's a difference there. In the US, there's only 64 gig models, but across the world, there are also 128 gig and 256 gig models. And that's kind of been the case for the last couple of years. The US just always gets that lower version. But the battery sizes are the same as the S8s. We have NFC and MST on board. Fingerprint reader in the proper spot. They do have stereo speakers, which might be like the most underrated new feature. Like this is the first time Samsung has released a phone with stereo speakers, I think so. And they're AKG tuned if you care about that. Still IP68 water and dust resistance. They come in a handful of colors, except titanium gray, which might be one of the better looking colors. This is not coming to the US at least yet. It could, like at Best Buy as a special or something. But for here, we got black, purple, and blue. Tim and I ordered purple, by the way. We both looked at the blue and thought it was awful. We said almost obviously that the blue was awful, and then the black's just kind of boring.
Yeah.
So we got purple. So what else is there to say? Like, we obviously haven't played with the S9s. We weren't at MWC. They look nice. Don't get me wrong. It just feels like that, like, like the iPhone goes, iPhone 7, iPhone 7S. We're like Galaxy S8, Galaxy 8S. Like, they're improvements. They'll still be incredible phones. It's just we didn't get the big splashy refresh, which maybe we'll get next year or something.
Yeah, well, we didn't get like a huge redesign or anything. I mean, the Galaxy S8, S8 Plus were already well designed phones, and somehow Samsung managed to make them better. I mean, we do have dual speakers, which is something that everyone seems to love, and so that's big. And then, of course, the fingerprint reader is now usable. Like, I'll actually enable this one and use it probably.
Still headphone jack.
Still has a headphone jack. I mean, I wouldn't say these are leaps and bounds or anything, but like these are improvements. And really, Samsung didn't kind of take anything away from the goodness that was last year. So, I mean, these seem like really good phones. And not only that, but the pricing came in at, under what we even expected. So,
yeah, we need to talk about that, right? We made these bold predictions and
we were so bold.
We got stomped by Samsung.
I know. What were we thinking?
We were trying to keep it real.
It was embarrassing.
Yeah.
So I estimated that the Galaxy S9 would be start at $749, while the S9 Plus would start at $849. And you said $775 for the S9 and $875, $100 markup for the S9 Plus. So,
and the unlocked one starts at $720. S9, and the unlocked S9 Plus with the dual camera starts at, is it $840? No. I should have the pricing right in front of me. Where did it go? I had it in front of me at one point in time.
Fail.
Seriously. Where did that go? Oh, here we go. Yeah, so the unlocked S9 is $720 and the S9 Plus is $840. Yeah. So last year it was $725 and $825. So the S9 actually dropped $5 unlocked anyway. And then the S9 Plus with that secondary camera only went up $15.
My S9 Plus price was almost pretty spot on at $849, so I'm happy. I'm a little disappointed that I didn't foresee a price drop. I don't think
anyone guessed it. I mean, I swear, like for 2 weeks leading up to it, was like, get ready, the S9 is going to be the most expensive Samsung phones to date. It's not even close. Like, people were beyond wrong on that. I don't know who reported that, but they were wrong.
Yeah, well, if you took at face value, that was Evan Blass, who posted the Euro pricing, and then so we sort of just did our random, guesstimations based on what we saw from Euro, because we knew they weren't going to be straight conversions or anything. Like we weren't really expecting $1,000 Galaxy S9 Plus, but still, to come in well under that, it's pretty damn impressive on Samsung's part. Although, unless you get it through Verizon.
Yeah. Just gonna say that. I was gonna say, keep in mind that like those are the unlocked prices, which are priced great, which is weird for unlocked. If you go to the carriers, it is a much different story. Like Verizon is $800 for the S9. It's $80 over the unlocked model if you buy it full retail, and then the S9 Plus is $930. It's almost $100 higher. So it's frustrating. Sprint's similar, $792, $912. AT&T. If I had a calculator handy, I could probably tell you. Yeah, $780 for the S9 at least, and at least $900 for the S9 Plus. So they did the same thing. T-Mobile kept it right, $720 and $840. So T-Mobile kept it the same, probably because they're basically just selling the unlocked version. But those other three carriers, not cool at all.
Oh, bad guy Verizon doing bad guy things.
I've been meaning to write up a post shaming them about it. I just haven't had time. We've kind of been busy this week.
Yeah, well, I'm sure their PR department would write back and say, we do our own testing and certification process, and we assure that our network reliability makes up for the price difference. Blah blah blah.
Yeah, that's a bunch of garbage. And the thing too is they lock you in to these monthly, like they do it a little bit to price you out of buying a full retail. It's just like they used to do when they try to get you to sign contracts or service contracts. Now they want you in the monthly payment contracts. And so they're like building back in that like old upcharge fee that they used to, and starting to charge you now monthly. Now I know they're all running a bunch of deals. Like if you go to Verizon, like almost everyone's doing at least a $300 up to $350 trade-in deal. T-Mobile's is $360, so it's a little bit higher. And then like Verizon, AT&T, and I think Sprint are all also, if you leave your carrier and go to them, they'll also give you another $150 as a like a prepaid card. But their 350 trade-in deal is like one of those stupid bill credit things they spread out. And actually T-Mobile's is too. All the carriers are doing the spread out thing these days, which is garbage because they're just locking everyone in for 2 years. Samsung's trade-in deal is still the best. We keep telling everyone this, like if you're going to buy it, just go to Samsung store. They give you instant trade-in credit. So you just pay a lesser price up front as long as you make sure you send your phone in. And they have financing and all that stuff too. And you can get the unlocked model that works on all of the carriers. So, yeah. So Galaxy S9, in terms of like software features, like they upgraded some of the camera stuff, like the 960 frames per second. Slow-mo is there. That's only at 720p, I'd imagine, right? Yeah, I don't think it's 1080. The 960 frames per second slow-mo that Samsung's cameras, I believe that's only 720p. Sony, which we'll talk about a little bit, their cameras actually do that, but they do it at 1080p, which is pretty nuts, actually.
I mean, still just even having 960 frames per second is pretty sweet.
Yeah, but who shoots at 720p?
Nobody.
I guess if you're sharing on like Instagram, it doesn't really matter, right?
Yeah.
You know, we've still got the infinity displays. We do have that slow. We've got AR emoji, which are just like an emoji that you can like turn your own face. And instead of it being like a fox, it could actually be your face. Like they create versions of your face as animated emoji.
I'm super stoked about that.
Kind of fun. Yeah, kind of fun. What else do they do? Stereo speakers we talked about. You know, we still got the iris scanner and your fingerprint reader. There's facial recognition stuff. I don't know that Samsung's telling everyone that this is supposed to be as good as like Face ID, but I keep seeing people reporting that it's not as secure as Face ID. I don't know that Samsung ever said it was, but they do have all of that stuff. Bixby's still there. I feel like the Bixby stuff didn't play a big role this year like it did last year, obviously, when they first introduced it. There is a Bixby button. Once again, that's not going anywhere. I kind of feel like maybe they've backed off of Bixby a little bit until 2.0 is ready. Because I think Bixby 1.0, while it has some useful features, and I know we rag on it all the time, it just like the implementation, it's just way too overwhelming, I think, for most people. And I hope anyway, that 2.0 sort of reinvents how people interact with it a little bit to make it a little bit simpler. But they didn't really talk that much about it. I mean, they said it's there and there's a button, but I don't know that they were like, Bixby, it's still awesome. Let's see what else. It got a DxO Mark score. Are we going to reveal this right now?
Nope, we can't. Well, no, okay. We can. See, I think we should. That way, you know, they have a chance to easily get it.
This has to do with the trivia later. No. Anyway, so DxO Mark scored it 99, which is the highest score ever. We always like preface this was like, if you care about DxO Mark scores, we've kind of like pushed ourselves into this corner where we feel like we need to report on this crap because we reported on some a few times ago, and now every time there's a new phone and it ups everyone. So it has technically the highest ranked camera according to DxO Mark. We dove into the numbers a little bit, and at least like the top 4 categories that DxO Mark considers the most important. The Pixel 2 still beats the Galaxy S9, but the S9 topped the Pixel 2 in noise and in zooming because, you know, the Pixel 2 doesn't have a zoom lens and the S9 Plus does. Whatever. Like everyone's camera is really, really good. I don't know that DxO Mark cared that much about the variable aperture stuff. They didn't like, I mean, like exposure, the Pixel 2, you know, is still better than the Galaxy S9. So
I think the dual aperture thing is really just a marketing tool, essentially.
I'm sure they'll be able to dial it in and make it slightly better over time. I mean, even like bokeh, right? Like if you're shooting at f1.5, like you could get really nice bokeh, that depth of field. It scored like 5 points higher than the Pixel 2, so it didn't like crush it. But Google, you know, the algorithm is like the greatest thing ever for. So that happened. There's a new DeX pad. We did talk a lot about DeX last year. Like I picked up DeX, which is Samsung's like little computing gadget thing that you dock your phone in and you attach it to a computer and you can play. I played with it for all of 5 minutes and was like, I can't even do this. and never looked at it again. But they released a new one this year, or they're going to, called Dex Pad, where you dock and it only works the Galaxy S9, S9 Plus, by the way. You dock it in there, and it turns into either a pad, like a touchpad, or a keyboard. Does all this thing. I don't know. The Dex thing, I just don't understand why anyone would even consider buying. Like, we all, not all of us, most of us have computers. This thing is not powerful enough to be a day-to-day computer, I don't think, but someone can prove me wrong on that, I guess. And then in related, they did tell us, Samsung did announce again, sort of, that they are working on a Bixby speaker still. Like, we thought maybe we'd get it right now. This would have been a good time to announce it. They didn't. They said maybe later in the year, and it's going to be premium or something. We've been talking about it for like a year, right?
It's been a long time we've been talking about this dumb Bixby smart speaker, and it never comes. Yeah. It just keeps getting pushed further.
They're probably waiting for Bixby 2.0 before they
just like everything else. Yeah.
So that's kind of it for the Galaxy S9. We asked people if they were interested in buying one. You know, we always do that with the big flagships, and 60% of the DL readers said nope. 25% did say S9 Plus, and 8% said the S9. So I don't know. I mean, like, our readers, they tend to be Pixel owners, Nexus owners in the past. I do feel like with the S8, we had a bunch of S8 people. Maybe it's just because those people don't need to upgrade. And then Pixel people just bought the new Pixel 2, so they don't need to upgrade. Maybe that's what it is. But I mean, 70% aren't really interested in the S9, S9 Plus.
They're a bunch of Pixel fanboys.
Hey, they are.
I am. No shame.
I am at this point. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess, like, my takeaway from the S9 Plus stuff is it's kind of what we expected. There were so many leaks, like there was no build up anymore. Like, that was all spoiled. And the fact that, like, the night before, Samsung, or the morning before, I should say, Samsung posted up like this teaser video to YouTube that somebody grabbed and uploaded. So we kind of got a little bit of an overview of like this enterprise version that they're doing. So that kind of spoiled some stuff. But overall, it's what we expected. Now we just want to get them in house so we can test that camera out. Check out battery life, performance, you know, see the little tweaks they've made to the Samsung experience. Yeah. And we've got some on order, so we should have some hopefully soon.
There you go. I mean, you sound kind of underwhelmed by these devices.
I'm not going to deny that. I am.
That's fine. I'm just excited for those dual speakers and to check out the new camera. I guess, and of course, AR emoji. I mean, that might be the thing I'm most excited for. I've been seeing a couple of, YouTubers and stuff playing with it. Like, it looks kind of cool. Like, if I could have my own little face as a little emoji.
Just send it to everyone.
Exactly.
Hey. I will say that, like, talking through each thing, I'm a little more excited today, I think, than I was like a couple days ago. You just said speakers, and when you think about Samsung displays, look, I've been on the Pixel 2 and old blue display here for quite a while. Like, the displays on Samsung phones are bonkers good. Like, they're the best always. And so with that and the stereo speakers, we're fully into software navigation buttons now, which we love. I know the cameras will be good. It's purple. I mean, there is some stuff to get excited about. The fingerprint reader I can actually use, like the S8. We talked about this S8 Note 8. I just stopped using the fingerprint reader. I could use it with this phone. That's a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm coming around a little bit.
Thank you.
I'm super duper excited, but I'm coming around a little bit.
It's hard to be crusty about everything.
Yeah, and I tend to be pretty crusty about it. This one just doesn't blow me away. That's all. Last year with the S8, I was like the ultimate S8 fanboy because it was like the first Infinity display. Like, it was. You could call the S8 game changing because everyone followed after that. So this one just, it's kind of a refresh of last year. That's really what it is.
That's a solid point.
It'll still be fun. All right. So the next announcement, which, like, I got pretty hyped over. Now I don't really know. Sony announced the Xperia XZ2 and XZ2 Compact. And we talked about this last show last week because information about it leaked like right before we came on the air. By the way, is Bertzer here? I didn't see Bertzer. We talked about these last show and how excited we were. So Xperia XZ2 and XZ2 Compact are now official. They are coming to the US. We don't know when, and we don't know how much they're going to cost. They won't go to carriers. Well, I should say the XZ2 won't go to a carrier. I think the XZ2 Compact is. Oh, no, it's just getting certified at Verizon, XZ2 Compact. So the XZ2, I believe, is just going to be a GSM phone. XZ2 Compact will also work on Verizon, I believe. So anyways, they are official, and I still think they look pretty great. It's tough to get super duper excited just because like they're so wishy-washy with the US, and pricing probably won't be great. But they're supposed to start shipping globally this month, like in March. So we could see these before long. Anyways, to recap them, slightly tweaked newish design language from Sony where it's more bubbly like an HTC U11. We got more display though, smaller bezels. By no means is this like essential Galaxy S9 bezel shrinkage, but it's better. I'll just say that. But it's got like stereo speakers and water resistance and Snapdragon 845 and 4 gig RAM and plenty of storage and quick charge. And the XT2 actually has fast wireless charging. Stereo speakers, I don't know if I mentioned that. They come in kind of cool colors. There's like the liquid black, which is just black, but there's like a silver, a green, a pink. Like they always kind of do it up with the colors. They have their new camera in it. Sony always throws in their latest camera. It's only f2.0, but again, it does 960 FPS, I believe at 1080p, which no other phone could do. And it also records 4K HDR, which I don't think any other phone does either. So there's like some stuff that it does that nobody else is doing. But they did kill the headphone jack, which will piss a bunch of people off. And a lot of people just think it looks like an HTC knockoff.
Interesting.
A little bit. Like I don't think the front looks like a Sony phone to me, with just smaller bezels. The back, I get the bubbliness like we have with the U11, but like the centered camera and fingerprint, like the location of those, I don't think looks anything like HTC. But
yeah, it doesn't really come off like the 3D glass, of course, comes off a little HTC-ish. But
right.
I mean, these look like Xperia devices. I mean, they really do look like a reworked omni-balance design, which I can appreciate because I've been a Sony hardware hater for like 5 years now. So they're doing something right if I'm starting to warm up to it a little bit, especially the compact. I mean, the compact doesn't look as odd because on the larger one, you have such a huge gap between the centered rear-facing camera with the LED flash on top of that. It looks different. Not a huge fan, but they look cool, man. I wish that a carrier, I wish T-Mobile would pick them up, but that's probably not going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, it'll work on T-Mobile.
Sure.
It's just I imagine it'll be $700. Although the XT2, both of them are only 1080p displays, by the way. I didn't mention that. So the XT2, even though it's kind of the higher end, it's not quad HD. I don't care, but I know some people do care about that stuff. Like I'm a big fan of OnePlus phones, and they always just have 1080p. Like the quad HD thing doesn't really mean much to me. What they'll probably do is create an XZ2 Premium, and it'll have quad HD. That's kind of what Sony does. So yeah, we'll just kind of be on the lookout for these to launch here in the US and at what price and all of that stuff. But I think for the first time in a couple of years, we will definitely get these in-house to play with. Like they're the best looking Sony phones in a couple of years. And the compact seems kind of back. Although this one's it's more plasticky. It's not quite as premium as the regular XC2, but I think we'll get these in. I mean, you haven't played with a Sony phone in I don't know how long. For me, it's even been a couple of years. Like, I think after the S9, we're done with them. I think we should get these in and start playing with them. I think it'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. And for everyone asking, this is going to be important for later in the show. The larger XZ2 has a 3180 milliamp hour battery, while the smaller one has a 2870 milliamp hour battery, just to refresh you.
Yeah, spec wise, pretty solid. I mean, the 3180 is not huge, but again, it's a 1080p display. I don't think it's gonna be that big, and it's got a Snapdragon 845, which is more efficient, and all that. So battery should be fine there. And the compact has a 5-inch 1080p display. So
I know you like those small little displays. You're bringing one here. I know it.
Thought I did, and then I like the other week when there was that Pixel 2 refurbished deal on like Woot or something, I picked up a regular Pixel 2 and was like, I want to play with one again for a while. It's too small, I think.
Oh,
would have thought I'd ever say it, because that's like a 5-inch, right? And it has some bezel and stuff, so it's probably not. It's probably about the same size as this phone, but
that's weird.
I really like I tried using it for a couple of days and I was like, nah, I gotta go back to the big guy. And there's something about the feel of the regular Pixel 2 I don't like either, like the texture on it. Whereas like the 2XL, which is in my pocket, it kind of has that sticky, glossy feel, which sounds gross, but I tend to prefer the feel of it now over the regular Pixel 2.
Yeah, it's not bad. Guy Davis in the chat asks a very good question. Are Sony phones sold at US retailers or just online? So they have done at retailers like brick and mortar, like Best Buy, also on Amazon. There's been some Sony phones, but
Yeah, I think
I don't know about these new guys.
Best Buy is probably your best bet. Um, yeah, like if you just go to Best Buy, you can pull up a bunch of their phones. They've sold their phones for a while. I believe some stores probably carry some. I don't know that it's all of them. You can. I'm just looking to see if my local stores have any right now for pickup. Nope. So it might be like they're only on Best Buy's online store. Yeah, none of these are like available for pickup. Like today anyway. Like you have to order them and then they show up in the store in like a couple of days kind of thing. I don't know. You could always check with your local Best Buy if you want to go get your hands on one, that sort of thing. But Best Buy is probably your best bet. Otherwise, yeah, pretty tough. But online retailers, yeah, Best Buy sold them. I believe Amazon has sold some. Obviously, Sony's site. I think there's a handful of, like, I think B&H probably does too. Anyway, so yeah, the Xperia Z2, XZ2, if we're in Europe today, they look solid. I'm actually excited for a Sony phone in a while, and we will get these in house. Even though like 30 people will probably care, I'm excited. It'll be fun to play something new, something
Exactly, something different.
And look, Sony phones update to new versions of Oreo faster than most people, so should be good. I mean, I think they should be phones to consider at this point. They look pretty nice. Doesn't mean they aren't stupid expensive. All right, so moving on to Sony, the at least like one of our big focuses for the week has been on Apple copycats. We could probably spend a really long time on this. We'll try not to like dwell on it for too long, but it all started. So you guys know the iPhone 10 has this all display design and it has a big notch at the top that houses all its sensors for its facial ID, front camera, all that stuff. It's all up there. It's got this notch. It's been universally mocked by just about everyone, including Apple fanboys. Like everyone has made fun of this notch thing. And on a related note, Essential came out with a phone that also has a notch at the top. They did it before Apple did, but theirs is like this little widow's peak. It's like just a camera. That's it. It's not like a notch, a full big notch that takes up a big area. It's just like this little dip right there. It's just camera. We understand that. Let's get that out of the way. Anyways, Apple's version of it, most people kind of made fun of. At MWC, we saw something take shape where it looks like Android manufacturers in general, outside of like Samsung, are cool with just completely copying that. The Apple notch, not the Essential notch, the Apple version of the notch that is a little bit wider, houses probably more stuff in it than just the camera like we see in the Essential. So I mean, we've got, at least I was kind of railing against this. Like it pissed me off a little bit. And it started with ASUS. ASUS got on stage and announced the Zenfone 5 and Zenfone 5Z. And they openly admitted to everyone, like, yeah, people are going to say, I don't know the exact quote, but they said, people are going to say we're copying, but this is what our customers want. They said people are going to say we're copying Apple, but this is what our customers want. So ASUS is trying to lead everyone to believe that customers are asking for this ridiculous looking notch. I don't know that I buy that for a second, by the way. I think it's a good excuse to just copy Apple and sell a clone phone. Anyway, so they announced these phones, and like the phones spec wise, like feature wise, all this stuff, they actually kind of have some cool stuff. But like they even have their own emoji that's just like an emoji. They call it Zen emoji or something. But theirs is like a shameless clone of the iPhone. Like it is. So there was even a slide on stage that was comparing their notch and design to Apple's, like, and they called it the Fruit Phone X. Like they wouldn't even call it the iPhone. I mean, it was like the most amateur, childish thing I've ever seen. Anyway, so they copied it. But then we also saw a leak of a Huawei phone, like a P20 Lite or something, that had a similar notch. Then this LG G7 prototype leaked out of what must have been like a private MWC event, which we should probably talk more about this phone in a second, but it also had like the exact same design in notch. There's been this leak floating around about a possible OnePlus 6 phone, and I don't know if it's confirmed or not, but it also had that notch. Motorola, we showed you guys Motorola's lineup for the next year, basically. The Moto X5 will have a notch. And we saw materials that said, like, not only will it, but other Motorola phones and Lenovo's phones, like, they're all going to have this notch. And then we saw a report from Bloomberg a couple of weeks ago that said Android's going to build in native notch software support, right? And that's probably because all these partners told Google, like, hey, we're all building in notches. Like, you should support this. So like we've talked about a lot about it. Like I made the argument that like Android, like we started as this clone of iOS, right? And people mocked Android users and mocked people that own these Android phones and said everything was a copycat of Apple, and Apple sued Samsung and won lots of money because they were copying Apple. And now we've grown to this part where like Android is not a copycat. Like if anything, Apple's played catch up to Android. We've seen the infinity displays and dual camera and all this stuff. Like we've seen Android manufacturers really push boundaries. And now it just feels like we're stepping back, like because everyone's failing outside of Samsung and Huawei, that we're all just going to copy Apple. And I think it sucks. Like it. I mean, I wrote a post. I'm pissed. I was kind of mad the other day. Like, what are you guys doing? Like Android, we came to Android because we don't want. That was my argument. I don't want an iPhone. Like I'm on Android because I don't want an iPhone. So, hey, we can talk about this at length. But you wrote a piece that said like, yeah, I don't mind the notch. Like, you're like, before you get there though, I don't hate the notch. I just hate that people are copying Apple and making it this like blatant. Anyway.
Yeah, I can totally appreciate where you're coming from. I always thought that that was one of my personal strengths, was being able to empathize with other people and see other people's perspectives. And so I respect your opinion on that. However, what, you mad, bro? Like you mad at the notch?
Baseball flush.
Yeah. Here's the problem. So a lot of people, it seems that OEMs, and I wrote this out in my post, it really seems that, you know, these manufacturers, they want to cut down on the bezels around the screen because they want to try and do something like Samsung has done, yet they can't exactly. Maybe they just don't have the engineers to make that possible, or the capability to make like such small bezels possible with their display types without buying them from Samsung, etc. So what Apple did was show that you can still sell a phone that has a freaking notch in the top of the display. And they're like, okay, so what we can do is we can do the notch too, and also bring down our bezels, kind of like an iPhone X, you know, or a Samsung, and offer people what we think it is that they want, which is minimal bezels for a more immersive viewing experience on the phone. But there is a trade-off. We have to give them a notch. But inside that notch, we can put a good front-facing camera. We can put some face unlock tech stuff in there, kind of like Apple, you know. And it certainly seems kind of like a ripoff. Now, in terms of the aesthetic appearance, I actually kind of like it. You know, part of me likes it. You know, part of me, of course, is totally sane and says this isn't right. But the other part of me, which is a little crazy, thinks it looks kind of cool. Like we saw that picture of the LG G7 Neo, and for some reason, like it's got the 3D glass front, from what I can tell in that 2D photo. It looks really cool, actually. You've got your, of course, like just like on the iPhone or any other phone with a notch, you've got your one side for notifications, one side for your clock and all that. And it just seems kind of uniform and symmetrical. So like a part of me appreciates it. Of course, when you go into landscape, you lose all that symmetry and everything looks off instantly.
Although ASUS did build in like some custom tweaks to the software that when you do that, that was another thing they were bragging about. Ours is perfect. It's perfect. We made it so that it's not like the Fruit Phone X.
It's the perfect notch. Yeah. So what I think is like the notch is a way of solving a problem, but it only creates another problem. And that is trying to find a way to fit in sensors and fit in a camera in an area that is extremely small around a display that is only getting larger, while they don't want the hardware to keep getting bigger as well. So we'll talk about, of course, the Vivo phone that has this pop-up mechanic for the front-facing camera, but there's got to be something in the future. Like I said, you know, notches won't be around forever. Something's got to happen to where there's some type of innovation in terms of hardware engineering that just allows these notches to go away while the bezels stay minimal. Of course, I'm not a freaking scientist or anything, so I don't know what they're going to do, but notches can't just, you know, stay. They can't last. It's not a great design. So
right, we have to start somewhere, right? Like if anything, Apple started somewhere. They put this notch. I'm sure Apple wishes they didn't have to have this giant notch, right? They started there. Now these other Android manufacturers are copying that idea, and they're be big, but like ASUS was already bragging that their notch is smaller, and it's like, well, yeah, you probably didn't include as many sensors and stuff as Apple. We get why it's smaller. So we got to start somewhere. We got to shrink things out. Like if you look at the Essential phone, I don't know if this will show, but like
A little bit.
notch up there in the camera, that's like the only sensor in that thing, I believe. It's like the only thing up there is that camera. And then they tied a speaker up here as well, the earpiece. So they kept as minimal because they didn't put a bunch of stuff other than just that, right? And while Apple and all these other people are putting other things up there, it just, and I'm fine with like the future and we get to a place where there's less stuff if that's where we need to go. It just looks so bad. It just looks so bad from all these companies. Like, like is Google going to do it next? Like is Google going to give us the notch in the Pixel 3? Like, are we going to take bets on that now, whether or not Google is just going to go ahead and say, yeah, let's do it, Apple. Let's do it.
It might as well. I mean, especially if they're still tapping, other Android manufacturers, and they're like, "Hey, all we got are phones with notches." Sorry, bro.
Well, if they're going to build support into Android, does that mean that's just because the next Pixel phone is going to take advantage of a damn notch? We've come far.
Maybe one phone will have a notch and one won't, but I get what you're saying. We have come a long way, especially like Android's been innovating. Like we've been doing good. We've been leading the charge, and Apple's been following us.
And there's no benefit to this notch. So you describe this idea of like separating the icons. It looks kind of cool in a way. I get that, but like now Apple's like building in double swipes, like one swipe on each side does everything. And Asus did the same thing. The problem with that is these phones are too big. Like who the hell wants to reach all the way to the opposite corner to do another swipe that does something else? Like these are the type of things that like, those aren't helping anyone. Like these aren't good, like user interface thing. Like I can't get over there and swipe these extra things. I just like, if you want to separate things and make it look neat up there and have more display, like I can get behind that a little bit. I don't know what else the benefit is. That's the only thing other than like, you think it looks cool in a picture because like, it has less bezel, which they do look unique and cool. Like the iPhone 10 looks unique. I'll give you that.
Not anymore.
Usually when we jump, it's the same thing with the headphone jack going away, right? Like a lot of people argue like you're killing the headphone jack. You're not giving us like a real good reason why you did that. Same thing with this. Like we're adding in all these notches, except you haven't given us a reason like why that's cool other than Asus saying like, we just copied Apple and ours is smaller. Like that was their reasoning.
Well, you need a place for the front facing camera while also minimizing bezel.
You could do what Samsung does, right? They're pretty small up top there. And they just took her right up there.
Apparently not. Apparently Samsung has a patent on the technology that allows them for the infinity display, even though, plenty of like TVs from every manufacturer have hardly any bezel anymore. If they don't have front facing, they don't have a ton of sensors and cameras and all that, but still, you'd think something would be possible.
So, I mean, like here's a Pixel 2 XL. It's got some bezel.
It does. Some bezel, bro.
Bezel. Certainly there. And I think we all noted that when it launched, like, whoa, Pixel 2 there, you got some bezel. So they could shrink that down, but I don't necessarily need that to all go away. This is still an all display front. They need to shrink that down a little bit, but they put big stereo speakers. I don't see the benefit other than these companies are just trying to take advantage of Apple doing something and getting it out in the marketplace. And then they're hoping that, somebody sees their phone and goes, well, I can't afford the iPhone 10. So yeah, I'll take that $500 Moto phone that looks like an iPhone. That's just a terrible look for Android to have.
I agree, for the most part, like I agree with that argument. I just feel like, and I don't even think it's really like an argument. Like I get what you're saying. I just think there is like there must be a reason behind the madness.
That's what I'm saying. They haven't given us a reason.
Well,
like
maybe
there isn't a reason.
Gotta give it time. You gotta be patient, man. Like this could lead to something way better. Like this new problem. We've got a ton of companies working like, okay, people don't like the notch. We've got to give them a notch, but they don't like the notch. So let's solve it and just come up with something better. And that's what leads to, better products.
Well, let's talk about this Vivo phone that you mentioned though.
Yeah.
So Vivo, who you guys may know, they're the company who at CES we played with their in-display fingerprint reader phone. So at MWC, they announced another new phone. And it has like the bottom half of the display includes Synaptic's new fingerprint tech, which like you can scan anywhere. It doesn't just have to be on the like exact spot, which is what they showed at CS. Like you can do like 2 fingers at once, like go crazy with the biometric scanning. It's like the whole bottom half. But anyway, they showcased it on a phone called the Apex, and it's all display. I mean, like here's the essential phone. Let's see if this is even on. It is. So like here's the essential phone, right? And it's got no bezel up top other than that little notch. And then down here, there's like, a little bit of chin action going on. So this Vivo phone is this with no notch up top and then even smaller chin down at the bottom. It is all display. There are no sensors on the front whatsoever that at least you can see. And the front camera, if you're wondering where that is, they actually embedded it like within the body. So it actually pops up. And then you can take it. It's supposed to happen really quick, and then it's supposed to automatically retract when you're done with it, sort of thing, which is kind of cool. So companies like this are trying to get around just being an iPhone copycat. While Vivo doesn't sell phones in the US, you'll probably never see this or buy this or whatever. Like these are the kind of innovations that like other Android manufacturers I feel like should be doing rather than just copying Apple, because that's like the easy, lazy route, and people will recognize that it looks like an Apple iPhone 10. This is cool. And again, it's a concept phone. I don't think anyone will ever buy one of these things, but at least Vivo is trying to do some different things, mix it up. It's like Xiaomi's done the same thing, right? The Mi Mix 2 were kind of the first phones that brought in this all display crazy look. They don't have iPhone 10 notches. I just don't understand why we're going that way.
Maybe it's just easier, more cost effective. I don't know. Everything we're talking about, and or at least what I'm talking about is, solving this notch problem probably costs millions of dollars in R&D. And, I get why people don't like it. Like, it's a very polarizing subject. And I love that. I love that people are passionate about it. And sometimes I like to play devil's advocate and say, you know what? I like the notch. And that's
like
fine.
I said, like the notch doesn't really bug me. It's like the essential phone I still think is the best design of a phone in a long time. Like I love the look of it, and it has a goofy little notch up top. My problem is the copying. So like I think the iPhone 10 is fine looking. It kind of looks a little goofy. Like its notch is, kind of goofy, but like it also has its own unique style. Like that's the iPhone. You see an iPhone, that's the iPhone 10. Like Apple created this unique product. And now everyone in Android's like, we don't want to be unique anymore. Do that. Anyways, poll and asked if anyone's a fan of top-notch designs, and 82% said no.
Oh, crap. I guess I'm alone.
Like I said, I'm not like a hater of notches. I just don't want Android manufacturers to start going back to the world of copying Apple's ideas. But they do it with everything. Headphone jacks, now apparently notches and emoji copies.
Everyone's got an opinion on notches, and that's great.
Yeah. People do. It's like a fiery subject. We've been talking about it for like 3 days, I feel like. It's kind of
well, thankfully it was only like 2 days, and people did notice. They were like, oh, what is this notch life?
I mean, you always know that's coming.
Yeah, that's funny. That geek dad in the chat, he says, I'm not alone. Thank you. Notch brothers have to stick together. Power to the notch.
Notch bros.
Yeah. Notch or death.
All right, speaking of other notches, let's talk about what LG did. So LG had 2 appearances, one in secret, one not so secret. So LG did announce the LG V30s Thin Q and the LG V30s Plus Thin Q. This is their new version of the LG V30 for 2018. What's different? It has more RAM, 6 gig. And then they up to the storage. The S has a base of 128 gig storage, and the Plus has 256 gig. Comes in 2 new colors. It runs Oreo, which no other LG phone does, which is kind of embarrassing. And then they put a whole bunch of AI in it, Tim, which is AI and the F out of everything. Their AI, like everyone else's AI, is mostly a load of garbage, I would argue. Like, not to keep ragging on ASUS, but ASUS called their ringtones AI ringtones. Like ASUS they called everything an AI something or other, and it was that like just because like I don't even know if I really want to go into it, but LG is kind of doing the same thing. Like they put an AI cam, and their AI cam is kind of like a Bixby Google Lens knockoff, and I don't expect that it will be great. They also said it does some other things, like it'll tell you what scene to shoot in and that sort of stuff. I guess that's AI. They also called something called voice AI, which is basically just custom Google Assistant commands. Like that's all it is. Like I don't know why it's called voice AI. Like just say like we got some sweet Google Assistant commands. Like exclusive to me sounds better than voice AI. So that happened. I don't know that we really know when this phone is coming out or if it's even coming to the US, do we? Like they haven't really said. They didn't give a price. They didn't really talk about launch. They said like this is the phone.
I think it's a bad idea to bring this phone to the US unless you completely, like, you have to take away the old V30 or else things are getting a little confusing.
Because yeah, you can't charge more for this phone. I know you put some more RAM and storage, but you can't. It's the same phone. Like it's still a Snapdragon 835. Like same display. They didn't upgrade really anything.
No, I like the new colors or the color. I don't know. I mean, you know, I don't think the V30 was selling all too well. I don't think the V30s is going to change that.
Yep.
You know, so bringing it to the US, I don't even know if it's really worth the trouble, worth the hassle, because then you have to market it, etc.
Yeah.
People, I don't even know if people know the V30 exists, except for like those hardcore LG V fans. So, but it has AI, so that's cool.
It does. Okay, so enough about that. Let's talk about the exciting thing. So, an Israeli news outlet called Ynet News. Apparently, they're a big deal. I've never heard of them. Sorry, apologies for that. But apparently, they're legitimate. They had a journalist like in a meeting with LG. Like this had to be a behind closed doors. Like I'm surprised he didn't have to sign his life away to get in the door. And he comes out and goes like, hey, here's this video of the LG G7 codename Neo phone. And here's some video and here's the specs and like all this stuff. And everyone went, wait, what? What is this? So this guy posts this thing and it's late. It's like, you can tell it's a table set up with demo units and there's like official spec sheets right next to it. And the spec sheet gave us everything. They listed as the LG G7. It's codename Neo. It has a 3120 by 1440 display, which is nuts. And it's 19.5 by 9, which will make sense in a second. 3000 milliamp battery, which sounds tiny with that display. 845 Snapdragon 845 processor, 64 gig RAM, 128 gig if there's a G7 Plus version. Same thing goes 4 gig RAM for the G7, 6 gig for the G7 Plus. Fingerprint reader in the back. Dual camera setup, kind of similar to what they've had in the past. 8 megapixel camera up front. But where it obviously becomes a thing that we're talking about right now is it has an iPhone 10 notch, right? Like it has that notch style. And so that's why it's 19.5 by 9, because that extra. So most phones right now are 18.5 by 9 or 18 by 9, right? They're in that range, that 2 by 1. And so we've seen this 19.5 range. Like ASUS did the same thing. And it was because they're incorporating that area where the notch is. But it looks like LG is going to be able to let you do software to hide that notch. Like I showed you guys my Pixel 2 XL. So like these rounded corners and this sort of BlackBerry, like there's photo of it where it just looks like this. This is what the phone looks like. And then there's another photo where like these black corners are gone and there's a notch and so it looks like you're gonna be able to hide it or whatnot. On the back setup, it looks like a glossy black roundish phone with a vertical stacked camera, sort of like Apple's. It's centered though. I don't really know what to think about this phone. Like, again, I was annoyed because it looks like an iPhone clone, but it's kind of weird. Like initially Ev Leaks, who's kind of been on this LG beat, said, this is different. This is the one they scrapped in favor of this codename Judy phone that he's been talking about. And then like the next day he came back and said, actually, no, this is the Judy phone, he thinks, because he said the specs all match up and he thinks this is actually the phone that may be coming like around June. So I don't know. I think you've said like you think this phone looks hot.
I think it looks hot. Maybe I'm just, I must be totally weird. It's not so much the notch, I guess, but the kind of 3D glass effects we've got going on again. Yeah, it looks, in terms of bezels, it looks a lot like a Pixel 2 XL, right? Just with a notch. And and that's not that big of a deal for me. I really like the Pixel 2 XL. I think the amount of bezels on it is fine. I mean, LG software is probably going to bore the heck out of me, but the design looks pretty good. It's got those dual cameras. It's got a good, well-placed fingerprint reader, and I want to try the notch. Just give me a break. I want to try the notch. I think it might be cool. I just don't know. I've never used a phone with a notch.
Yeah.
So it's something different. Like, it's just something different.
And it looks like you can hide the notch if you really hate the notch. Like, LG is going to give you the power to hide the notch if you want to, with a little software blackening.
Yeah, a little software magic. I mean, that's beautiful. Thank you, LG.
I'm getting a little worried of this like elongation of phones. Like, there was that time where everything got kind of wide and crazy, and we're like, this sucks. I can't hold my phone with one hand. And then we switched to the 18:9, right? And now we're at 19.5:9. Like, we're beyond 2:1 at this point. These phones are going to get stupidly tall if we don't calm down a little bit here. I do prefer long and slender versus like these wider phones that we have, but this phone looks pretty big, like in this dude's hand. Maybe he has small hands, I don't know, but it looks pretty big, like tall, wide. Well, I guess like the Pixel. I guess this phone is pretty damn tall though too. So.
It is.
And so this is probably the same size because it just has more display.
Yeah, obviously, this person was using like a phone or something to take these pictures, and that always really pisses me off. Why is it when someone gets hands-on with something super exclusive, you got the worst possible camera in the world, something like with a potato with a lens attached to it? Very frustrating.
Somebody uploaded it to somebody must have pulled a like high res version somehow, because I saw it on YouTube like the next day. I just haven't updated our photos, but it was like the high res version where like they actually zoomed in. So anyways, I could try to find that, but yeah, somebody did take it with a potato.
Yeah, not the worst pictures ever. Like, they're not super blurry or anything. It's just, when you zoom in, kind of get kind of low focused and all that. So a little blurry, but that's all right.
But it looks, obviously like LG's, it's like this hybrid of the Pixel 2 XL and iPhone 10. I don't know if that's how you sell phones or not. It's certainly unique looking in that aspect. I don't know what to make of this. It's still running their skin, which their software has always been one of the big problems. Like, they still haven't updated a phone to Oreo, like that's not a good look. It's March.
No, it's a really bad look.
So like, if we're going back to the drawing board, like, does this look like LG went back to the drawing? Remember, that was like the story, right? Is LG was scrapping what had been working on. They're going back to the drawing board, going to come up with something new. Like, this doesn't look like they went back to drawing. This looks like they just took on the next trend, which was a notch, and that's it, right?
Well,
they didn't change the camera. Display hasn't really changed other than that notch. Fingerprint reader buttons. I mean, the design, like, it looks a little more rounded than most LG phones, so the styling of it is kind of newish, and there's like no branding on this phone, by the way. It doesn't even say LG.
Yeah, well, let's say it takes 2 years to design a smartphone, all that, the whole process. So Apple comes out with the iPhone X last year. LG's like, hold the phone, like, we need to scrap everything we've been working on for the past year and get to work on this notch, because this could be the future. And that just kind of seems like what it is. Because I mean, what are the chances, right, that each of these companies were working on a phone with a notch at the exact same time, and they're all coming, and they just happen to be after Apple? And it seems it's a little too coincidental for my liking.
It is an interesting point, right? Because we talk about how it's supposed to take like 2 years to make a phone or whatever, and all these phones have been in the pipeline forever. But yeah, like, we're only a couple of months from Apple announcing the iPhone 10 and releasing it, and like everyone has a copy of it already. Like, does it really take as long as we were led to believe? Like, I feel like these companies are moving faster these days. Like, they're fast testing everything. Like, OnePlus is kind of the prime example of that. Like, they move pretty quick. Like, they released the iPhone, or the OnePlus 5, and it didn't have the all display, and like a couple months later, like, here's an all display phone. And remember, like, when they swapped Snapdragon processors that one year, I think it was the 3 and 3T, they went 820 to 821, like, and upgraded the battery and some other things. Like, they've proven that you can move pretty fast if you want to. So yeah, I'm kind of with you. Like, it's weird that like we're supposed to believe that it takes like 2 years to build a phone. Yeah, here's LG with a notch, and everyone else has a notch.
Everybody's got a frickin' notch. I think with the use of, these 3D printers and all this stuff, I mean, they're able to sort of manufacture these concepts and all that and go through that whole process of determining and like a design they want probably much more quickly, than having to send it out to a shop or over to their factories. They can do all that stuff in-house in the office, right at the designer's workshop. He's, whips it up in the computer and then presses print. I think maybe the process is just moving a lot more quickly. But then again, it is sort of just, it's weird coincidence that all these phones have a notch after Apple releases the iPhone 10. It's just weird.
So I mean, we'll kind of pay attention to this because, like I said, EvLeaks initially was like, this is the scrap phone. And then I believe the next day he was like, actually, I think this is the real one. He also said there was a LG he said like a birdie told him that there was an LG V35 on hand at this event too, and a new watch.
Yeah. So doesn't Evan know that birds can't talk? I hate that little birdie saying that's just weird. Birds can't talk, people.
They tweet.
Yeah.
All right, so that's what LG did. In terms of companies not doing anything at MWC, so Huawei, like I said earlier, announced like some tablets and I think like a laptop or something. They didn't announce their new phones. They're going to announce the P20 in March this month, so later this month. And one of their execs said they are working on a Huawei Watch 3. Didn't offer, I don't think, any details. Didn't say when it's even coming, but that they are working on one. So Huawei Watch fans, hopefully they make a good one unlike the last. Actually, the Huawei Watch 2 Classic is pretty nice. I have one and I've worn it for a while. I mean, I'm not wearing it now, but I did go through a phase where I wore it. It's pretty solid. It's just the regular Huawei Watch 2 was like a plasticky, weird sport thing that was really cheap. So Huawei Watch 3, that could be coming. We got absolutely nothing from Motorola or HTC. They were quiet too. Well, Motorola posted up this really weird teaser video to their YouTube channel that was like only 15 seconds long or something. It was like all these people moving slowly on conveyor belts. And it said something about like, you don't have to spend a lot for quality. I don't know, something like that. And we had reached out to Motorola to see if they had any MWC plans. And we didn't hear back until like the day they released that teaser. They were like, yeah, stay tuned. Here's this teaser. And we were like, are you going to announce something or what? And they're like, we'll let you know. So they just took MWC off, which is weird because that's usually where the new G phone or at least the new Moto E phone comes out or something, but they must be waiting. And then HTC, I mean, I don't know if they're actually a company anymore at this point.
Haven't heard much from them.
No, I mean, we talked on the last show, they like cut all their US staff mostly. Anyone who wasn't HTC Global apparently got cut. They didn't announce a phone. They didn't say much. I mean, they were tweeting about like their, I think U11 and U11 Ultra or U11 Plus here and there, but that was it. Like they were silent. They didn't do anything else. And I think that's pretty much it for MWC. Again, it was kind of a quiet year. Samsung, we knew like everything that was coming, so they made it official. Sony surprised a little bit, but when that leak came out at the end of last week, it kind of spoiled some of that surprise. Like, can you imagine if that leak hadn't dropped on Friday about Sony? Like, we would have hit Sony's press conference and gone, oh my God. Like, it might have been a little bit of a freak out, which we never get to do. Other than that, that's pretty much it.
MWC wasn't bad. I mean, it's unfortunate that, one company in particular, HTC, just, really isn't doing too hot. And I'm sort of hoping Sony can kind of take their place. Maybe if they want to get a little bold, and maybe peek back into the U.S. market with this new designer. I wouldn't hate them for trying. Someone's got to take the place of HTC. So it's like a 0.5% gap in the U.S. market right now, thanks to the exiting of HTC. Someone could fill it. All right, so moving on to MWC, Tim reviewed, speaking of Huawei, the Mate 10 Pro this week. Using that Mate 10 Pro? No, not anymore. So the Mate 10 Pro, it was announced last year in October. So technically it's to me, it's a 2017 flagship device from Huawei. Just now available in the US, it costs $799. So that pretty much prices it out of existence for anyone who might have been interested. It is not available on carriers. Of course, if you've been following, there's a whole lot of drama stemming from the US government.
Yep.
And they've come to take your Mate 10 Pros. So Mate 10 Pro, it's got a 6-inch Full HD Plus display, OLED 18:9 aspect ratio. That Full HD Plus, it's 2160 by 1080. the dual cameras on the back, they're Leica branded, kind of co-developed, as they say. You've got a 20 megapixel monochrome camera plus a 12 megapixel RGB sensor. Both have f1.6 aperture. Both have optical image stabilization. It's got a huge 4,000 milliamp hour battery, water resistance, rear-facing fingerprint reader, and it even has Oreo. However, that Oreo does run under EMUI 8.0, which renders Oreo useless. Yeah. So, my main takeaway was that the cameras are good. I posted a couple of shots in the review of, like light trails and mono photos and RGB, and like the cameras are pretty darn good.
Cameras pretty good, yeah.
Yeah, the software feels a little bloated at times. Like there's a lot going on. You can play with a lot of stuff. It's not anything like the Pixel 2 camera software. That's just basically a shutter button and that's it. There's a pro mode, light trail modes, selfie modes, portrait modes, all this stuff you can play with, and so you can really get lost in there. But it is capable of taking some very good pictures. Hardware, great hardware. It's almost the exact same weight as a Pixel 2 XL, except it's all metal and glass, 3D glass. So it's got that kind of bubbly look that feels really good in hand. It's nice to use with one hand. Moving on to the stuff that was sort of average to not so good. The battery life was okay for having 4,000 milliamp hours and only being 1080p. I was expecting a little bit more from the battery. It wasn't the best. I live in sort of a black hole, so I can't even use a phone here where I live unless it's on Wi-Fi. So, I'm hooked up to Wi-Fi to make sure I can even use the phone. And it's just really like the battery did not blow me away, which is unfortunate. The big takeaway though was performance and software. For me, not a fan. So like if you've ever played with EMUI before, at least the updated version, I believe it was the 4. Maybe it was EMUI 5. That was the update for the Mate 9 and the Honor 8. That was a really good software. It was actually it was some nice tweaks. It built upon the sort of custom software tweaks that Huawei was doing. 8.0 just seems like a total jumbled cluster of mess. And, I booted up. I didn't even know I was running Oreo for the longest time until I had to look at the official spec sheet to be like, okay, I got to look at what phone Android version this is running. I was just figuring Nougat and it said Oreo. And I just, what? And because everything that kind of Oreo say brought, say to the Pixel, it does have picture in picture. But that's not really anything I feel like people use all too often. Any type of long pressing on notifications wasn't really like you would expect, and like on a kind of like the Google experience, notification channels, any of that. There just really wasn't anything that kind of oozed Oreo goodness, which is weird. And then
it sounds terrible. Like it gives me nightmares thinking about how awful their software is.
It just hid, I thought, of what everything that kind of makes Oreo good, and it didn't try and highlight anything that Oreo brought to the table. It was all just about highlighting their own, you can knock on the screen to draw a screenshot or anything like that, and that stuff has been there. It's not new. Being able to draw a letter to open up the camera app or music app, all that's fine and dandy, but Oreo did provide some cool stuff too. It doesn't even feel like Oreo. It doesn't look like Oreo or anything like that. So all their icons are all square squircles, and it's just not hot. Thankfully, there are themes for the software. You can change up the theme, but I don't know. The only theme that I really like only makes the UI kind of look okay. There's no really good looking themes. It's not like Samsung where you've got a ton of developers building custom themes and icons and all this crap. So yeah, a lot of jank, a lot of performance issues. I mean, even swiping into the Google Now feed, there's a stutter. And it's why is there a stutter? This is full HD plus with, 6 gigs of RAM and Kirin 9 something process, octa-core process, and there's stutters, there's jank. So I just, I wasn't huge on it. Not only that, it's $800, not available anywhere except through.
It's $800.
$800. Amazon
just dropped. It's $720.
And
it works on all carriers, and it's Samsung. It's miles better than that Huawei phone.
Yes, and you cannot expand the notifications on the lock screen, which is the biggest pain point for me.
Yeah, I would quit right there.
Yeah. So my verdict was it's intriguing hardware and a good camera experience, but the software is going to keep me far away, and it should probably keep you far away too. Just get a Galaxy S9 if you want like a new phone, or a Pixel 2 XL for that matter.
Yeah. 100%. I've never used the phone, and like you describing it, I would run from that phone. I wouldn't even, me personally, wouldn't even touch it.
Yeah, it's too bad. I mean, the hardware is nice. Like
it
was
looks
good.
really nice. Yeah. The
it's
cameras are great.
Cameras are good, but then the software just kills it.
And that price, yeah.
And that price.
Software and price. No thanks.
Womp womp.
Womp womp. All right. Speaking of expensive things, I should have it near me and I don't. We picked up a Google Clips, which is Google's little smart camera box thing. It's $250. It's not cheap. And it's kind of like a novelty item. Like you pick it up. I don't know if you guys don't know what Google Clips is. Like this little smart camera. You can turn it off or on, and when you turn it on, you just set it somewhere near you to like record you in the moment, like play with your kid, your pets at a party, whatever, right? Like that's the point. Like you're supposed to keep it kind of close because it has a wide angle lens, and just put it somewhere. So it records moments of you guys hanging out. It does like animated clips, so video, motion photos or GIFs. It takes stills also, or you can pull stills from those animated clips. It doesn't have an internet connection. It just does Wi-Fi direct everything to your phone. So you can save photos, clips, whatever you want. So it's not like beaming anything to Google. At least that's what they tell us, right? There's no mic on it, so it doesn't record any sound. It just takes pictures in these animated clips. It has a shutter button in case you want to manually do it. It's kind of cool. But I don't know that it's $250 cool. Like remember when HTC released that? What was that stupid submarine looking camera thing? What the hell was that called? You remember that HTC camera? It's called like it wasn't the U something. Remember what I'm talking about? That little submarine camera.
Sorry, I was just I forget what it was called, but it wasn't that good.
The Re.
Thank you, Re camera.
So in a way it reminds me of like that idea, but like HTC's Re, you had to manually take it, but you could like set it down, right, and turn on and it would record video. And it kind of, this seems like a more advanced version. And the Re took like the worst pictures ever. Like that was one of those products that like could have been kind of cool. It just happened to have like the worst camera sensor ever. So this one, it doesn't have the greatest camera sensor ever. It has a decent one. Like I jacked up the video quality as high as I could go to get better stills and stuff. And it saves, to Google Photos. It tries to recognize faces so that it captures like the people you want to capture the most. Like if it recognizes them. But like the image quality and stuff is just not that great for $250. It's like you have to like constantly move it and shift it and put it in new spots and stuff like that. The only thing I think is cool about it is that like I do have a kid, and like I pulled it out the first night and just like I showed him what it was, and he figured out pretty quickly how to turn it off or on. You just twist the little lens. But like I would set it like near the couch, and he was like building forts and stuff, and it like captured some stuff of him like tumbling down his fort. And like there's like I looked at it like the next day, and like he had picked it up and was like playing with it and stuff. Like those kind of like candid modes are pretty cool, and like it's able to capture those. But again, like image quality and price, it's kind of an iffy one. Like this is one of those new Google products where there's kind of like testing the waters. I feel like I'd imagine they're going to do some software updates to probably improve that image quality and all of that stuff as much as they can. But you kind of have to wonder, like, is this going to see like a $50 price drop like tomorrow when no one buys it? Are they going to create another one? Like, we don't really know. Like, you never know with Google if they're going to support things for that long or if they really care. And this kind of feels like one of those products where they're just testing out something. So I wouldn't tell anyone to go out and buy one unless you just have $250 to blow and want like a little gadget to hang around your house. Like I'll probably use it. Like I think it's kind of cool, but like I do this for a living. So
yeah, so you can get away with it.
Right.
Brandon in the chat says you should have multiple Google Clips around the house and living spaces to make it work. And I totally agree with that. Like it's cool if you can kind of get like the living essence of your house and the people moving throughout and the special things that happen in the different rooms. As a hater of kids and as someone who will probably never have kids, I feel like this product doesn't really speak to me. Like even my dogs, they're the most lazy bag of bones in the world. All they do is lay on the couch. Like, so I can't expect to get anything like cool moments from my dogs or anything like that. But like at first I was like, okay, this product seems kind of cool, but at $250 and like I don't know if the image quality is like all that great. It's like really you're
excellent.
Yeah, you're just paying for the AI. And I'm sorry, but I hate the idea of paying for AI, like something that's not exactly tangible. So
like I grabbed a shot of one of my cats, and it's a 5.7 megapixel shot. Like the resolution's not that high. Like here's like a GIF I made it. It's, you know, 0.3 megapixels. Like, you know, they're not like the photos, the clips you pull from it. Like here's a shot I pulled of my son. It's 2.9 megapixels. So like, you know, the images are small. You can't like blow these things up. They're probably okay to share on some social network, but they're like, in the end, you're probably gonna be better. Oh, this one. So this shot I pulled is actually 6 megapixels. So it goes up to like
it's huge.
8 megapixel camera. I don't even know. They won't say like what. I'm sure I could find that out, but on their specs, it doesn't say like it's an 8 megapixel camera or what it is. So yeah, I could see like in the future, like he mentioned like future software, like if you had like 3 of these, right? And you just set them around and like Google does some magic to stitch things together and really use their AI and stitch things together and create these moments for you, like at a party or whatever. You got all these interactions with people. It creates like a little, like that stuff's cool. But at the same time, like, why don't you just buy a bunch of Nest cameras? They cost $250.
And they have sound.
But like they'll record like up to 4K or 1080, at least 1080p video at this point. The picture's probably about as sharp as this thing. You know, like if you had multiple of those, like you could probably get similar. So it seems like a project where Google's just trying to learn some stuff. Like I said, I don't know that anyone should go out and buy this thing unless you are really, really, really curious and you just have $250 to spend.
Yeah, I think adding a mic would have actually just been beneficial, right? A lot of people, like, you don't have to enable the mic, but at least having that option, because say you've got your grandma, your mom talking to your kid and little grandma, granddaughter action going on. You want to hear the conversation between the two, like one's yapping away, dad-dadding and stuff, and grandma's hardly talk either because she's got dentures and all this. I think it'd be fun little conversation piece, but of course you can't hear anything. All you can do is see. So I would have.
Well, if you think about like if you set it down somewhere, like how often is it actually going to catch something that looks like this really cool moment? Like,
true.
I play with my kid all the time. Like, how many clips of him do I need like jumping off the couch? Right? Or like me sitting next to him while he's coloring. Like how many of those do I need? And like you said with your pets, like I have cats and they're lazy too. Like how often am I going to catch them doing something really funny? Or like if you do put it down at a party, how interesting are a bunch of photos of people talking to each other? I mean, like that's the thing, right? Like when you take pictures, like you always try to frame something. You want it to be unique and look cool or whatever. Like you worry about framing and the background, all that stuff, right? You care about lighting. With this thing, like you're not supposed to, but then how interesting is that stuff? So it just, like I said, it seems like something where Google's just trying to learn. Like they want people to buy it so they can learn from it.
That's very Google-esque of them.
Yes. So yeah, $250 I wouldn't say, unless you're just, like I said, ridiculously curious.
All right.
Yeah, the show's getting long. We got to do trivia. 2 quick points. Google I/O schedule is out. It's filled with Android and Assistant stuff, so that's not surprising. We'll probably get Android P on some level there. Registration's closed. If you wanted to go to I/O, that registration's closed. They're starting to invite people who did register. Anyway, there is a thing on what's new on Android Wear, which to me maybe means we'll get Android Wear 3.0, which we sorely need. I also talked about the Essential phone this week and did a quick camera comparison. So we've got an update after update after update. And so I just grabbed the latest update, grabbed my Pixel 2 XL and took some photos from around my house of some things. I will say Pixel 2 XL is still obviously the better camera, but the Essential phone has gotten much, much better. The camera app no longer crashes. It's actually pretty fast, has auto HDR, it has grid, it has like actual settings you may want. The picture quality has gotten better, I think, too. But if you look and you can just go look at the site if you want, it's called Essential Camera Gets Another Update. Let's compare it to the Pixel 2. It's not bad. I mean, I think these pictures show improvement. I think in most of them, though, you'll understand why we think the Pixel 2 XL has the best camera ever. So we did that this week. If you're interested in that. In terms of 5G news, at MWC, T-Mobile announced that they're going to push 5G technology into 30 cities throughout this year as they get ready to kick off 5G in 2019. And Sprint said that they're going to get it ready in 6 cities this year as they also get ready to kick off 5G in 2019. Just keep in mind, there are no 5G phones this year. They will be out probably later in 2019. So all these companies are talking about 5G this year. That doesn't mean anything to you and I. The only thing is some of their LTE technologies will get upgraded at the same time. So you may see some faster speeds and better network coverage and things like that. I did ask T-Mobile if they could give me a list of the 30 cities, and they denied that request. They said they weren't willing to share the list yet. So it's kind of like an empty statement. They're saying we're going to put it into 30 cities. Well, which cities? And you don't want to tell me the list of those? I don't know why they wouldn't do that. That seems silly. So anyway, they actually only announced 4 that they would actually name drop, but apparently 30.
Not exactly helpful, T-Mobile, but that's okay.
That stuff drives me nuts. It really does.
We're still years away from that stuff. They're just hyping it.
Yeah, because 5G next year it'll start, and everyone will start 5G on a single band, or over millimeter wave spectrum, whatever. They're going to start small, and it's going to take years and years and years. They got to convert other spectrum to 5G, whatever they got to do, build out all the technology. It's going to be so long before we get to 5G. I know they're all going to say they've launched it, but I don't know that we'll see the real benefits for 3 years, maybe.
That reminds me of Google Fiber. Once we were extremely happy because Google Fiber was announced and coming to Portland. And then, of course, Google being Google decided to just kill our hopes and dreams. So I suspect 5G will do the same, at least for a while, until, it's a real thing and truly rolls out, which is 2020. So,
man, Google killing fiber is the worst. No, Google, don't listen to me. Google killing fiber was one of the worst things ever. That was going to change internet as we know it. Obviously, that they realized how expensive it was to build out fiber networks in all these cities and went,
yeah. That Geek Dad in the chat says we don't even really have true 4G, and again, I mean, just like the 5G, we talk about these theoretical speeds of a gig down, Right. Our 4G right now, we have in America an average of 15 megabits per second, where other countries are getting 40. They're more around the theoretical limits of 4G, which I think is about 60 megabits per second. So we don't even have 4G in America. Yeah, sure, you can connect to 4G LTE, but it's not what it should be. So I suspect the same thing from 5G.
Maybe this is a Portland thing, but I don't really think so. But I feel I've noticed more and more a lack of coverage depending on no matter what the phone is. Anywhere I go, I never feel cities are getting stronger. And I know all these carriers keep telling us we're getting stronger, we're upgrading all this stuff, LTE advanced and gigabit LTE and all this stuff. I don't ever feel like that. I know I live in a black hole of signal death too. And my Verizon speeds here are 2 down and a half up before it times out. And my AT&T coverage here is bad too. My T-Mobile coverage is okay, but that hasn't. I've lived in this house for 5 years now. It hasn't improved. I'd imagine everyone else in the neighborhood probably hates Verizon around here too. They don't seem to improve neighborhoods, but even when I'm downtown or around Portland, I don't feel anything ever gets better. This is a pretty major city, and I feel in New York, it's a struggle. San Francisco, the struggle is real at times. I don't know. Vegas, it's terrible everywhere. I feel the cities we travel to for work and stuff are some of the cities that should be getting upgrade
the fastest speeds.
Yeah, and I don't feel any of them ever get better. Maybe that's just me, but I don't know. Maybe it's because they're just areas that have too many people. I don't know. So as much as I talked about 5G being the future of the world on the last episode, it's still gonna be a while before we ever get. Yeah. And you crushing all my hopes and dreams that it's just gonna be 4G.5.
Slow your roll. Yeah.
All right. Should we do some trivia?
Yeah, let's do some trivia and call it a week.
Trivia. Okay, so we mentioned in the opening of the show that for live viewers, listeners, we were going to start doing trivia at the end of shows. Most of the questions, at least to start, we're thinking will be bits and pieces from the show to help you guys hopefully answer this stuff. We'll try to give you a little bit. Well, basically what we're going to say the question and then the first answer in the chat, because there's a little bit of delay from when we talk to when the chat sees it. Also, if you're listening right now, you may just want to refresh that feed, the YouTube page if you're on there, to get probably the most live feed you could possibly get. And do that right now while I'm still talking so that you can hopefully get there so we can get this rolling. But anyways, what we wanted to do is do some trivia. Again, we've been talking about doing this between ourselves behind the scenes for a long time. We actually had a dry run of a trivia which was actually kind of fun. But so that this could expand, but we thought we'd just start with it on the show, give away some prizes here and there, Yeah, Flossrelli in the chat says trivia winners get an HD camera. Probably have like 3 of them around. We probably could give away. So what we'll do though is we'll just do a question. We'll give people time to answer. Hopefully Tim will mark down who the winners are.
Absolutely.
And we'll figure out ways to like contact winners and stuff like that once we have prizes and things like that too. But just thought it might be a cool way to get some more interaction. So anyways, we'll do a question and we'll give you time to answer, and we'll obviously tell you who the winner is, and we'll let you know and that sort of thing. So
sweet.
All right, do you want to run this?
I'll totally run this. I was born to run a trivia game show.
Trivia. We need like a intro song for you.
Oh, we could do that. Yeah, it'll be super corny, but yeah, we could do something like that. Yeah, so DL trivia. So I'll basically be reading out a question. They aren't necessarily too hard or too easy, but they all focus on MWC and this week's news. So if you've been paying attention to the show or reading the site, you shouldn't have too much of a problem answering these. So the first one to answer correctly in the chat, I will save that. Of course, like I said, we aren't handing out prizes this week around. You're essentially beta testing this for us, and we do greatly appreciate that. So all of you have our appreciation and love. So here's the first question for you, and just as soon as you know the answer or you think you know the answer, put it down in the chat. What is the Galaxy S9 Plus's DxO Mark score? So we could do a little hum or a little jib or jig. Yeah. But
Eric Ortiz.
Eric Ortiz comes through with the quickness and got the correct answer of 99. Oh, look at all these. Oh, sorry, Eric Ortiz.
Now. Eric Ortiz there first with the 99 on that. That is correct.
He killed it. All right, so thank you everyone for playing the first question. Congrats to Eric Ortiz. 10 million. So question number 2. There are 5 questions in total.
Question number 2.
Question number 2. How much RAM does the V30s from LG have? Question number 2. How much RAM does the V30s from LG have?
Not the Plus.
Oh, Eric Ortiz is killing the game.
Eric Ortiz again. Eric Ortiz on that fast data connection.
Must not be on the true 4G LTE.
Yeah.
Oh,
6 gig of RAM is Eric.
Yep, Eric's killing it. 6 gig of RAM is correct.
If you want to play DL trivia, you apparently need to upgrade that internet.
Yeah, Eric, please tell the chat what type of internet you have and what provider and how much you're paying a month, because I need to get on that. All right, we're going to go with question number 3 now.
Question number 3.
Which new phone from ASUS features a top notch? And there are 2 correct answers for this, so feel free to, whichever one you think is right, feel free to throw into the chat. Which new phone from ASUS features a top notch? Evan Brown.
Evan Brown with the correct answer, Zenfone 5. You also could have said 5Z. But
or Zed.
Yeah, or Zed. Evan Brown was first there with the Zenfone 5.
Congratulations, Evan Brown. Our second winner. Eric and Evan doing very good. The E names. I like it.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to question number 4.
Question number 4.
How much is the Tempo Go, ZTE's Android Go phone for the US? Now, I will say this is a answer we did not provide in the show. You will have had to read the site, but it was in the headline, so we try and make it pretty easy for you.
Yep.
But here it is again.
How much does the Tempo Go cost?
Yeah,
Android,
how much is the
Tempo? Android Go phone?
Yeah. Oh, someone got it right there. Wade County, $79, $80, $79.99, $80. I'll take it. So Wade County.
Wade County first, $79.
Wade County's OG, man. Congratulations.
He is OG.
Straight beta testing OG. Good job. All right, and last question. Question number 5. I was expecting a question number 5. Oh, that's all right. What is the Sony Xperia XZ2's battery size? Now, I specifically mentioned this earlier in the show, so maybe, hopefully, someone was paying attention. What is the Sony Xperia XZ2's battery size? You may have to Google this one, I'm sorry, but there is a specific answer we're looking for. Close. There it is right there. Brian Ever. With the 3180 milliamp hour. Congratulations.
3180 milliamp hour. Nice job.
Very nice. This is fun. I could do this.
Doing this all day.
Well, that was it. That was the final question. I mean, if it was a race to see who could get the most, Eric Ortiz killed the game. But again, yeah, thank you guys so much for playing with us. Again, this was just a beta. We don't have any prizes this time, but we had a lot of fun. I think we had a lot of people joining in, so we'll definitely do this again. We'll have new questions, of course, and we'll have some prizes, maybe some Google Play credit. And from the chat, we can actually contact you through your YouTube page or your Google Plus page, whichever you're connected through this chat. We can contact you. So that'll probably be the way we get to you if you win. So that was a lot of fun. I like that.
Yeah, that was fun. Trayvon Reed says, "Hold on, I was above him." Trevor, I don't even see your answer. I looked, Trayvon. I looked.
Was that for question number 5?
Yeah.
I see Brian.
Oh, no, I see it. See, I have it 2 below him, so we'll have to work this out. So like we'll maybe have screenshots, some proof, so you guys see what we're seeing on our end. Yeah, I do see you now, Trayvon, but you were below him on our screen.
He was a split second behind.
Yeah, split second behind
Brian.
So these are all things that we will take note of, so we can prove to you who actually is the winner on our screen.
Don't worry, we're not trying to cheat anybody.
Yeah, we're not.
The prizes aren't that amazing, and no one's going to get a free phone, but they are going to get.
Hey, you never know.
Well, okay,
yeah, huge.
That's true. We could make this a big thing.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys for helping us with that. We'll take feedback for probably the next couple of shows before we make this like a really official thing. But that was good though. Yeah,
that was a nice little test run for 5 questions. Even that was nothing.
We'll have prizes on the next show though, for sure. Even if we're still testing things, so definitely you'll want to tune in to the next show.
Excellent.
Oh, cool.
I hope
anything else you want to talk about?
No, I hope everyone has a fantastic weekend. For all you Galaxy of Heroes Star Wars players, make sure to try out that new Sith raid that's available. Yes. Unlock your new Sith characters. Things are going to BB-8 event will be coming back around, as well as Jedi Knight Training Rey. Things are going big in Galaxy of Heroes right now. So
Tim is going to send that Trump cutout as a prize.
Yeah, who wants it, dude? I mean,
big Lee prizes.
Yeah.
HD for all. Clear out the DL Tech closet. Yeah, probably.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
All right, cool. Well, yeah, thanks for helping us with that. We do want to turn it into like an official little thing that we do on most shows. So, and maybe eventually one day be a standalone big old trivia show. So,
yeah, who knows?
All right, cool. Well, thanks for joining us, guys. Episode 166. Be on the lookout soon. Obviously, Galaxy S9 arriving. We'll have reviews, all that stuff. So stay tuned. Have a safe weekend. We're Droid Life.
Peace.